Let's talk about Hitler.
That'll make sense later.
I'm immaculately conceived.
I don't know what to do.
I swear I'm not stupid.
Take it or leave it. Sometimes you just want to leave it.
If I gotta borrow my mom's underwear, I'm borrowing her underwear.
You just, yeah.
Misa likes the Jar Jar Binks.
I'm not gonna edit it out.
Oh no.
I don't know. Like, I think it was pretty great. Just staying on the
Sucks to
planet.
suck.
Why are you saying it with a question mark?
Clap, bitch.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Action.
And we're live. I'm Anna.
And I'm Jessica.
And this is Why Are You Yelling? Welcome back to another F1 race review. We are talking about round 14 of the 2025 Formula One season, the Lenovo Hungarian Grand Prix at the Hungaroring. Hungaroring. Yep. Okay.
You're welcome. We made sure to spell it right
Yeah, it's spelled right.
this time. We sat down and we realized we spelled. I'm saying we. It was just her.
I spelled Belgian wrong on our letterboard.
There was just no L. Didn't notice the whole time I was editing. I just happened to look over and I was like,
Said begin.
I was like, that's not right.
Listen, nobody's perfect.
Nobody's perfect.
I gotta work it. The great poet, Hannah Montana.
Yes. Okay. So our race podium was Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri, and our dark horse returns, George Russell. He was just gone for a minute, and he has now returned. Yeah,
the cooler weather was definitely a bigger factor for Mercedes doing well because Kimi Antonelli kind of had a little bounce back, and then even Aston Martin. So the cooler weather, the cloudiness in Hungary was really good for them.
I think it was that, and they also got rid of like an upgrade. So I was like, okay. For our constructor standings, Aston Martin has jumped from 8th to 6th, and that was the only change. And I'm like, wow, they're killing it.
Yeah, they just had a really good weekend. I mean, even Lance, they had double points finish, even Lance Stroll, like we talked about in previous episodes, that he's sort of like not a driver we talk about a lot, but he quietly is like consistently getting points or finishing up there. So, I mean, yeah, good on Aston Martin.
Yeah, he did good. So for our driver standings, the main 3 changes, we have Fernando Alonso. He went from 15th to 11th. Lance Stroll went from 13th to 12th. And Gabriel Bortoleto went from 19th to 17th. So seeing some changes in the midfield.
Yeah.
Very exciting for them.
Yeah, and I know the gap between our first and second place in the constructors, I think it was at 22 points, I believe, and then it closed down to 9 points.
Yes.
So Oscar's still leading, but only by 9 points.
Yeah, Oscar Piastri has 284 points and Lando Norris has 275 points. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is looking like it's still going to be a race to the finish, you know, in terms of who's going to win it out between the two McLarens. I'm very interested to see how it's going to play out the rest of the season.
Yeah. It's interesting to see the different strategies, to see how they're kind of treating each other, to see like how the garages are treating each other, really, like how they're kind of handling that. I'm like, it's just very interesting.
Yeah. You kind of at a certain point, and again, we talked about in the last episode, at a certain point, you kind of have to run your own race. You know, when you're at certain points, you want to work together as a team, but then at other points, it's just like, it's a Great Wall of China. We got to divide, and then we're going to maximize.
They're so far ahead in the constructors. It's not even a concern. They could literally both wreck and not finish for for multiple races, and they're
Zach Brown was asked about it. He did an interview with F1 TV, and they basically were like, they're just asking him about, you know, where we're at in the championship and, you know, letting the drivers go racing, and if that was still good, if there would be a point in the season which they decided that they were asking him, will there be a point where you tell them not to go racing? And he's like, I don't really see that happening. He's like, you know, we're so far ahead in the constructor standings that he's like, it's kind of just, if we were to change the way that we go racing now, it would cause a lot more problems and would alter things in a negative way. And he's like, there's no point in doing that. So we just let them go racing.
Yeah. I mean, they really don't have much to worry about. So, I mean, it's no one's even close. So, I mean, they have 559 points and Ferrari is second with 260. They are very comfortable at this point.
Okay, my turn.
Yes.
So we're going to jump into our fun facts. So this race saw the closest winning margin in a green flag finish in 2025 at 0.698 seconds.
Oh, between like
First and second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was intense.
Yeah, the whole battle all the way up until the end was a lot for my poor heart. Like, because normally the races, like, I'm okay throughout most of them.
Yeah.
But, like, legitimately was on the edge of my couch. Like, finger steepled, like, prayer hands in front of my face. Like, like my heart rate was accelerating. I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen?
I know, you were like texting me the play-by-play and I was like, I've already watched it.
Yeah, I did start the race later. So basically it was already finished by the time, like hours before I even started watching it. So she'd already seen it. I was giving her some updates as I was.
Yeah, she was letting me know. She's like, this just happened. And I was like, I watched it earlier.
I know, but I have to share. I need an outlet. I have to share it with somebody.
I felt like, well, I don't know what to say, so I just kept on sending the eyeball emoji because this is the safest bet at this point.
Like, I can't
be positive. I can't be negative. I don't want to mislead you because you were like, oh my God, Charles. And I was like, oh, wait, just wait. Fuck, I'm sorry. Yeah. So I just was like, eyeballs.
It was a great race, especially the second half. It just, nail biter finish. I was sure like Oscar was going to get him, and he did not.
He did not.
And then I was like, oh, well, okay. I guess. Anywho.
It was a little rough. Good on Lando.
Yeah, so this was McLaren's fourth consecutive 1-2 finish for only the second time in the team's history. The last time they accomplished that was with Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna in 1988.
That was a fact last time. That's crazy.
Well, it was like
it was like a different fact, but it was basically...
It was comparing them to that same driver pairing in that same year. I think the last stat was something about like the number of 1-2 finishes for McLaren in a season. That was like the second most. The current season is the second most they've ever gotten. And Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna are the most that they've ever had in a single season.
Yeah.
So McLaren won their 200th World Championship Grand Prix today, making them only the second team to do so in F1 history after Ferrari.
Wow. Yeah, they've been around a minute. A really long time. Actually,
McLaren is one of only a couple Formula One teams that have had the same name since they began. Because you have it was Ferrari, McLaren, and I want to say Williams.
Yeah.
I think those are the only three that have retained those names since they began. And I think McLaren and Ferrari have been around the longest.
I think so. I guess you could say Red Bull's kept its name, but it's not nearly as old.
No, but they didn't start out as Red Bull. They bought the Jaguar team.
I guess
like when I'm not talking about even like teams acquiring other teams. I'm like literally when a team was created and brought into Formula One.
I guess the
from
next
the beginning.
one would be. We'll see if Cadillac keeps its name.
Yeah, because everyone else changes. Either you have like Alpine used to be Renault, and before that it was something else. Like they keep changing names. Sauber has changed names 100 million times.
Yeah,
this was McLaren's 13th Hungaroring victory, 6 more than any other constructor. So McLaren does well apparently around Hungary. So Lando Norris finished second in the 2023 and 2024 Hungarian Grand Prix. But he won this one. So I think I remember them saying he typically does really well around Hungary.
Yeah.
It's one of his he's a specialist. He's a Hungary specialist.
He's a specialist.
Lando had a 1.9 second pit stop today, and it is the fastest pit stop of the season to date. Previously, it was, I believe, Ferrari that held the fastest. It was like 2 seconds.
Yeah, because right now they have that over their garage or whatever. They're like, fastest pit stop. So
no, I'm like, Lando's was on it. Although Ferrari's 2 pit stops today, at least for Charles, I didn't remember seeing Lewis's.
Yeah,
but Charles's 2 pit stops, they were on it. They were like flawless.
I remember Ruth talking about how Ferrari really took the time and the effort to like get that down. And I'm like, yeah, you can tell they have, for the most part, pretty decent pit stops. Like they're always kind of on it.
I feel like the pit stop is one of those things that you don't realize how much of a race killer a bad pit stop can be until you have one.
Yeah.
You know, where I think people just take for granted like a fine pit stop, but it's like, oh, no. It really, really matters. And you got, I think Red Bull is a great example of a team that like really drilled in like executing pit stops perfectly. And it really is like a plus in terms of like, I think not just for like race day itself, but overall team mentality.
Yeah.
It's like, it shouldn't be just the drivers chasing perfection.
Mm-hmm.
It should, and executing like everything perfectly on a race day. It should also be like the team mentality of like everyone involved in the race itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, so McLaren finished 1-2 at Hungary for the second consecutive season. So last season, this was like the controversial Oscar's first win in Formula One, but it wasn't really because like Lando had it, but then gave it back, and it was a whole thing.
It was a horrible pit stop strategy executed by McLaren because it was like Oscar, I guess, had the pace, and essentially they just messed up the pit stops, and so Lando ended up in front of Oscar, and they're like, Oscar's like, what?
And it felt like it wasn't intentional by McLaren that it ended up happening that way last year, but it was definitely intentional this year that they executed the pit stops in that manner.
Well, because like they're not like really working together at this point.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure. So Oscar Piastri finished second. Last season, he passed Lando for victory on lap 68 of the Grand Prix, which, you know, we talked about. Very controversial. And Oscar now has 8 wins and 8 second place finishes in his F1 career.
Yeah, it's like he's like hitting he's already beating other people's like milestones in such a short period of time, and I'm like, this kind of sucks. I mean, that's like great for him.
Yeah,
but I'm like, you have more wins than Danny Rick? Well, no, he's beat out the favorite Australian.
Listen, it's a perfect storm of a driver with the talent and the mindset and the right car and the right team.
Yes.
That's all it is.
100%.
George Russell's P3 for Mercedes was his 6th podium finish of the season. Mercedes-Benz power units locked out the podium in Hungary for the second year in a row.
Mercedes, they're pretty reliable.
Yeah.
Don't really have a lot of problems out of them. That's why it was a little concerning a few races ago, it was like every 2 seconds not every 2 seconds, but there just was more issues with their power unit than we were used to seeing. We're like, is there a problem? But it seems fine.
Yeah, they figured it out, I guess. So with Charles Leclerc taking P4 for Ferrari, it meant the pole sitter failed to win in Hungary for the 5th consecutive year. Leclerc has only won one of his last 16 starts from pole, and that was Monaco 2024. Leclerc had only led 20 laps all season before today. These are awful stats.
That's how it felt not too long ago when all the stats you read about Lewis were just like bad. And I'm like, these are just mean.
Yeah. Charles, bless. Let me tell you something. Saturday was great. Saturday was a great day. Like I was watching qualifying, and then out of nowhere, Charles gets his pole position. Yeah. He didn't even know how it happened. We don't know how it happened, but it was just great. I like teared up. Legitimately, like was so excited. I started to my eyes started tearing up, and I was like, why? Why am I so emotional?
Like, what's happening?
What's happening? I was just so excited. And then I was very optimistic heading into this race, and the race started, and I was like, okay, Charles.
Same.
Okay, we kept the lead. We kept the lead through the first lap, and I was feeling optimistic, and even through the first round of pit stops, I was like, we got this. We executed a great pit stop. He came out ahead of, I think it was Piastri at that point. Or it was one of the McLarens.
Yeah.
He came out ahead and I was like, okay, we're sitting pretty. We have a net P1 right now because the other people in front of us haven't pitted yet. And then something happened to his car. And he just in the second, and it wasn't just us that noticed, because even in the cool down room, our podium finishers were like, what the hell happened to Charles? Because he was doing fine, and then all of a sudden, randomly, he just started slowing down.
And George Russell's like, and then he tried to hit me. What the heck?
Yeah, so Charles got on the radio at one point when he was losing all that speed, and he was complaining, monologuing.
He monologued once, then he took a break, and then it got worse, and he really just went in. And I'm like...
And basically, he was trying to say in as coded of a way as he could on the radio that he was like, y'all need to listen to me, and this wouldn't be happening. And it was either would have been something to do with the setup on the car or the strategy. It's one of those two things he would have been referring to.
I think it's got to be the setup of the car.
Yeah. And so he was complaining about that. And then after the race, they took a look at, and I guess they debriefed on what happened and why he lost all that speed. And basically there was something that happened to the chassis of the car, and that is what affected his speed so drastically. And they, when he was doing interviews and they asked him about it, he was like, yeah, so what I was complaining on the radio about ended up not actually being the problem. So it was like, and they asked Fred too, in an interview after the race, and Fred was kind of like, he's like, I need to review it further, but what Charles was complaining about on the radio was affecting like tenths of a second. It was tenths on his time. He was losing way much more time than that. So the thing that he was talking about and complaining on the radio wasn't what was affecting his time, because it was a much more drastic loss of time.
Yeah.
But then he was like, we kind of just have to look at it more. And then Charles did his interview and was like, it was the chassis. So my bad.
That's one of those things that I'm like, I wonder though if they talk and they're like, you got to go out there and say this.
Yeah, it could be.
You never know, because it would be interesting. Yeah, so I was like, go, Charles, go. And then the second that Oscar's engineer said, all right, like, it's time to like pick it up. And then he did. I was like, oh, shoot, man. Like, they haven't even been trying.
Yeah, so it was very clear that I want to say it was around lap 17 is when the F1 TV commentators came over the broadcast and said, so basically, all the teams are now figuring out that the degradation of the tires is within the window that Pirelli basically told them. So they weren't degrading faster or slower. So they were like, now we can basically commit to a strategy, knowing that the information we have is accurate.
Yeah.
And so then right around lap 17, when they were like, oh, we can commit to our strategies now, and we actually know what the tires are capable of, that's literally when they said, you're going to see people start picking up the pace. They were all holding back. Almost all of them were just not even trying, like, because they are trying to manage, they're kind of in tire management mode at that point because they don't know.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's when like Oscar really picked up the speed and like put down the hammer, and it was like, oh God.
When that happened, I was like, oh, well, okay.
Yeah, and it was interesting because again, even in the first, 15 laps, he was pushing hard the first 1 or 2 laps, and then he way backed off to within about
3 seconds or so?
It was about 2.5 to 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh no, he's doing that intentionally because he's trying to get out of the dirty air of Charles Leclerc. And so he's maintaining that gap intentionally.
Yeah.
If he wanted to be closer, he would be. And I was like, oh yes, he would.
I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah. So today for Charles was just not a great day. It started off hopeful, optimistic, and then all went downhill after the second pit stop. It was really like right around halfway, around lap 40 or so.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, well, we just have to accept that is me, as a Charles Leclerc and Ferrari fan, just got to take that one on the chin. And now we're going to focus on Oscar and Lando's battle.
Yeah, we'll talk about Lewis, I guess, in a second. I got really zeroed in on like his race because I was just like, this is not correct. This is not what should be happening. Everybody knows it. And what is happening? Like, why is this happening? But I'm sure it's going to bleed into Lewis next. So.
Yeah. So Fernando Alonso's P5 finish was Aston Martin's best result of the 2025 season so far. Alonso has scored points in 13 of the last 14 Hungarian Grand Prix.
I think this was also his first win that he ever got, was at the Hungaroring. Because apparently it was also like Ocon's, like a lot of drivers, like their first their first win. I was so happy for Alonso. And it was sort of miserable because like we were watching qualifying and I was like a few minutes behind. And you're like, oh my God, Alonso. And I was like, shut up. And then as I got there, I'm like, oh, I thought he was going to like be on pole. And then I thought he'll be on the podium, and then they took it from him. But it was still great. Yeah. And I'm like, more to come. He's going to get on that podium. That's what I'm going to see this season. I don't know. Yeah. He's going to be on it. I can't tell you what position, but he's going to finish. He's going to finish.
He's going to get a podium this season.
He's going to get a podium, and it's going to be glorious.
Yeah.
Because I need to see that.
So Gabriel Bortoleto finished P6 for Kick Sauber, and this was his third points finish in the last 4 Grand Prix. It was Sauber's best Hungaroring result since Nick Heidfeld finished third in 2007.
Wow. He's been doing really well ever since those upgrades came. And yeah, I mean, he's just been showing off, showing out. And I'm like, good on you.
Yeah, so rewind to the beginning of the season when we were like, Gabriel Bortoleto, he's supposed to be a prodigy. You said better get to prodigy, and
that's what I said. And he did. So he listened. He must have heard.
I'm like, great for him. Love that. So P7 was Lance Stroll for Aston Martin. He has finished 7th twice in the last 3 Grand Prix.
Good on him.
Yeah. Again, we mentioned earlier, Lance Stroll's just quietly in the points all the time. Never really talk about him that much, but he's there. I kind of want him to like show out a little more. You know, I kind of would like to see him elbows out, have a moment, and do something to like get people talking.
Yeah.
Just because he's so just kind of like quietly there, doing his thing.
Yeah. I mean, it would be interesting to see. It's kind of like you see him, you go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's just never really showed on the broadcast. And I don't know if I couldn't tell you if he's making overtakes or making moves or getting elbows out or really defending well. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't either.
I don't know what his driving style is. Like, I just have no idea.
No, I feel bad because most of the time whenever I saw Lance, I feel like he was just hitting somebody. And then I was like,
what's wrong with you?
Like, stop hitting Daniel Ricciardo and quit blaming him for it.
So every other time he's been in like headlines or talked about, it's been for like negative.
See, that's the media's
or like
fault.
he's been injured.
Well, I mean, honestly, they're all kind of a little, I don't know, maybe facetious towards him because like even like Joyland Palmer, like at the Canadian GP, he said some stuff that I'm like, leave him, just drop it. All right, like we get it. Like, we got it. That's like what Alice, who was doing one of the free practice sessions with them, a commentator, she normally does the F1 Academy commentating. She was like, well, I mean, why would you even like say that basically? And I'm like, exactly. Some things just keep to yourself.
Yeah. So Liam Lawson's Racing Bulls was the highest finishing Red Bull owned car with P8.
Oh my.
I don't like how that was worded.
Well, I mean, they got 2 teams, so he finished above Matt. Finished above Max. Oh my God.
And Yuki and Isaac.
But Max? Oh my God.
So Liam finished 8th for a 2nd consecutive Grand Prix.
He did pretty good.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Liam's kind of like starting to find his footing finally and like settling in kind of with the team. Yeah. And I mean, good on him for keeping Max at bay, I guess. I feel like that's a good battle. That would be a good battle to watch. Like Liam and Max.
Oh, I mean, Liam's going to get out of the way. I mean, at least, they were on the same team, but Liam doesn't come across, at least at this point, because he's still trying to make sure he's like going to be a part of this team. He's not going to do anything to mess up the guy's race who is going to stay. He is Red Bull at this point. Max is Red Bull. So I'm like, I think it would be interesting to see if they both had that like comfortability to fight. Yeah, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. I feel like he's pretty much if Max is within DRS of him and is like on the ass and he can overtake him and Liam could fight, I don't know that he's going to fight that much. Not with Max anyway. But I think it would be good because his first race, he was fighting with like Perez or Alonso. He's fighting with like these legends, making enemies, like his first race last year.
Well, yeah, when he first made the step up to Formula One, and there was a couple of races he was in where it was like he was elbows out, like fighting with people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where'd that go? Can we get that back, please? Because that was entertaining at least.
He said, I just want some points. I just want points and I want to stay right here.
I want to stay in my seat.
I want my seats. And I'm like, okay, yeah.
So speaking of Max Verstappen, he finished P9 for Red Bull, and he was 1 minute, 12 seconds behind the race winner. So that's like almost a full lap. Yeah, I think they were doing laps, like a lap time around like 1 minute, 20 seconds or so. So
yeah, it was not great for Max this weekend. It just wasn't it.
Yeah, he has not finished on the podium in the last 4 Grand Prix.
But didn't he win the sprint? Or he was on the podium in one of the sprints?
Yeah, but...
Okay, but
Grand Prix.
Shut up.
In the sprint and Grand Prix.
The sprint matters. See him now. I'm like, see, both of my world champions have won sprints. Don't leave them alone.
Kimi Antonelli's P10 finish for Mercedes was only his 2nd points finish in the last 8 Grand Prix.
Yeah, I think that his last scoring thing was in Canada?
When he got the podium. I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess he's, this will be a good boost for his confidence. I know he was struggling quite a bit the last several races. So hopefully this and the summer break, he can kind of have a reset and come back a little in a better frame of mind, because he looked real downbeaten the last time I remember seeing his teary eyes in his face on the camera. Yeah. In the second Racing Bulls car, Isaac Hadjar finished in P11. His only points in the last 5 race weekends came in the Belgium sprint. So Isaac, he's been qualifying still well. I think he's still the only person that has made it to Q3 every race so far. Yeah. So he's been qualifying fine. Yeah. Just the actual race itself.
Well, I know at one point in time his car had issues, and then there was just Silverstone. I mean, all the rookies were pretty much out, but except Behrman. So yeah, it's just kind of been I'm not worried about Isaac. I think he's gonna be fine. Yeah. Just kind of some circumstances maybe out of his control.
So finishing P12, Sir Lewis Hamilton for Ferrari. This was his worst Hungaroring result for 15 years.
Yep. He's literally, I think they said there wasn't a more successful driver at a track than Lewis was here. And I was like, we don't have to say that.
He finished in the same position that he started in.
Yeah, so. I mean, there's that. I mean, so I mostly just paid attention to Lewis this entire race. I had the main broadcast on the TV. On my iPad, I had his onboard, and then I had like the stats and the sectors and stuff like that on my phone. And so, because I'm looking up and I can hear the broadcast, but I'm watching Lewis because I got really into just wanting to watch him, because he had pace is what was kind of annoying, but like how this particular track is like it's really hard to overtake. And then not only that, because he found places to overtake on and he was finding success, but then he got stuck in a DRS train with Isaac Hadjar and Kimi Antonelli. And it was like there was like nothing else he could do. It just got so, it was kind of lame. I mean, I was really hoping he was going to get up in the points, and I'm like, it just, like, tracks that you can't overtake on are annoying. Yeah. I'm like, I get that it's like that track is like, people, they like certain racetracks. That's completely fine. But I'm like, oh my God, it sucked. And then I felt even worse because the second Charles complained about the car, I was like, thank God. Because in a way, I'm like, I don't want it to look like Lewis just can't drive. And then I'm like, okay, we'll see there's an issue here.
He was so a collective sad. Issue. He is now sad boy. Usually Charles is our sad boy, and now it's sad boy Lewis.
It sucks that like he could even feel that way about himself.
I mean, he was so down. Like it really feels sad. Almost like worse than when he was at the end of his stint with Mercedes, because he was also very down on himself and kind of negative a lot with Mercedes in his last season there. And this felt almost like worse than that. Like he's like, I'm useless, and Ferrari needs to get a new driver because clearly the car is fine because Charles put it on pole. So,
and I'm sure they discussed later what probably even led to that. Once they can like look at the data, look at how the track was, like he can go back and see that. I mean, him and Charles both struggled in Q2, and realistically, like there's a universe where Charles didn't make it out of Q2 with him. Mm-hmm. So it's like the margins are so thin. It's like, but yeah, that's
And then they interviewed him after the race today, and they were kind of like, so what's the mood today? Because you were kind of, how are you feeling? You were kind of really down and being a little hard on yourself yesterday after qualifying. And he was like, it's the same. I feel exactly the same as yesterday. And it made me laugh because I'm like, oh my gosh, he's really, like really sad.
Yeah, he's
and the person interviewing him was like, I think you're being really hard on yourself, and I kind of wish you would go a little easy. It's so like, and part of me is like, I get feeling that way, but like, you gotta tell everybody that you think you suck.
I think Lewis is in this really weird place where he was supposed to have an 8th title, and it was like out of his control in a way that it was gone. And it's like still at the restaurant, where it's like, that was supposed to be mine. I earned it essentially. Mm-hmm. And I was just pretty much told, no, we're going to manipulate it for entertainment purposes. And it's nothing against Max whatsoever, but that's just how 2021 kind of is known for at this point. And if there wasn't a mistake made, the guy wouldn't have been fired like a few months later, the director or whatever, or whoever made the call. So it's like I feel like he's in this state of like, he performed very well that season, and then the regulations changed, and then Mercedes just was straight ass, made a horrible call, like this, they didn't have it. And then, but Red Bull did, and it's like, that was the guy you were battling with, and all of a sudden your car's ass, his car's great, and he's went on to now be a 4-time world champion, and you're still like, and then all of a sudden the narrative is like, he's washed up, he's this, he's that, and then he switches teams, and I think, him and Fred underestimated how it's going to be changing into the team, and then maybe overestimating what you can help the team with, and I think it's a lot. And it's done now. Like, you kind of have to just make it work, because it's not like you can just go home to Mercedes. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe you could. I don't know. I don't know how much money all that would be, but it's just, I feel like Lewis, though, is the type, he's going to have a break, and hopefully he'll talk to whoever he needs to talk to, and he's going to come back like rejuvenated, and just needs to accept this isn't the year. Mm-hmm. It's not the year.
You have to, I think the summer break would be a good time to readjust goals and expectations. Yeah. It's fine to go into the season having certain goals, but you have to reevaluate at a certain point that you're not on trajectory to meet those goals. Yeah. But even then, I'm pretty sure he said that, like, coming into the season, like, this is not going to be the year. Like, it's not.
Yeah, but it's one thing to say it, and then one thing to probably really
believe it.
It's like one thing to say it, and then if it was that year, you're like, that's right. Because you don't want to say it's the year. Yeah. And then it like when it really isn't the year, and you're just like, oh, well, it really isn't.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I feel like he'll figure it out, and he'll be positive when he comes back, I think. And those are just disappointing.
Yeah, of course
I wouldn't even know how to handle it.
Of course, a driver like him who's used to winning and fighting for world titles, you always, in the back of your mind, even if it's not a stated goal, is you want to win. Always, always, always. So I think taking a hard look at the expectations, doing a reset, and we've talked about this before, I think, about like the definition of success. It's different for different people who are at different stages in their lives, their careers. So, maybe, your definition of success used to be winning races and ultimately winning the championship. But now we need to redefine what success looks like for us as a team this year, and for him as a driver. And maybe success for them going the second half of this season, the second success is scoring points in races.
I mean, points-wise, Lewis is the only one after Oscar who every race he's scored points in. I think he needs to, if I'm him and I'm thinking of what my goal is, I would think my goal needs to be how to understand and adapt what I need to adapt. Because clearly I can't drive this car how I want to drive this car. Mm-hmm. So I need to make my goal, I need to adapt how to drive this car more than maybe I anticipated, and understand why the things that I want why it's not doing what I want it to do. How do I make it do what I want it to do, even if it's different than how I would normally get to that point? Mm-hmm. And so,
it's the same for anyone who you have your daily car that you drive all the time. Mm-hmm. You know how sensitive the brakes are and how it reacts, and you can perfectly stop. But as soon as you get into like your friend's car or your parents' car or someone else's car that you're not used to driving, it takes a minute. It takes, a good 15, 20 minutes of driving around in it before you're not like, like hitting the brake weird or whatever. Like it takes a little adjusting.
Oh yeah.
To drive it though, because you can't change the car. There's nothing you physically as a driver can do to change this car fundamentally in the way that it behaves. So you have to adapt.
Yeah. And I think that as well, it's like, it's a whole new steering wheel, a whole new, like where the buttons are located, where, maybe the Mercedes, I would have made my brake bias this going into a corner, and then the Ferrari responds differently. And because it responds differently, my brake bias needs to be this. So there's so much that you're almost having to just relearn that they don't just hit the gas and hit the brake in Formula One.
Yeah.
All those buttons on that steering wheel control so much.
There's a lot of buttons.
That it's way more. There's engine modes. There's the battery. There's the brake bias, all of that are things that like they get to decide when to deploy, when to save up, and how to adjust it mid-race. Like their brake bias and through multiple corners on one racetrack it's not the same, and they're constantly adjusting it. And so it's a lot to learn. I couldn't even imagine doing it in a car that I thought I understood, let alone being with a team for 13 years and then like having to learn a new team. So I don't know. But if anyone can do it, it can be Lewis. He'll have some R&R and then he'll come back and he'll be happy. And then he's going to win Monza and it's going to be fine. And it's going to be glorious. Could you imagine though? I mean, I think we'd be able to hear Italy from here. I think we can just go outside and we can hear it. So...
Like it's like at certain football stadiums in the U.S. when they play. What's that one where they play like Enter Sandman? Is like and everyone in the stadium jumps up and down, and it registers like the thing that monitors like tectonic plate shifts and earthquakes. I forget what that thing is called, but it registers on the scale. Like they can sense the movement in the ground because of how many. I'm like, that's what for the Italy would do like to the sound barrier. I feel like
beautiful.
It's gonna register.
It's going to, and it's going to happen. Yeah. I'm like, Lewis is going to win Monza. That's all I know. That's all I know what to say.
Okay.
It's in my heart, and it has to happen now.
It's in my heart.
It's in my heart, and I predicted it, and it wasn't a force. I was like, yeah, that'll happen.
Yeah.
So
you just know it.
Yeah.
So Sauber's Nico Hülkenberg took P13 and has not scored at the Hungaroring since 2016. That wasn't a very fun fact.
No, that's not fun. That's mean.
Mm.
It's okay, Nico. You got your podium, but you know what? That's it. That's fine.
You've achieved what you needed to.
Like, that's fine.
Yeah. So Alpine's Franco Colapinto finished in P17 and Pierre Gasly finished in P18. They were the last two classified finishers in this race.
Yeah. Alpine's they're
struggling, man. Like,
I mean, Pierre, he extracts what can be extracted from that car, but I mean, he can only do so much.
Yeah, they just taken a real nosedive. Like toward the end of last year, it seemed like Pierre was starting to get somewhere with the car. And then just this season has just been crap.
I mean, there's even moments this season where I'm like, oh, wow, look at him. There he is. But yeah, I mean, the consistency is definitely not there.
No, for sure. And our last fun fact, Oliver Behrman's DNF for Haas was the only retirement in the last two Grand Prix.
Yeah, that sucked.
Yeah, it seemed like they were saying he was having issues. And then the next thing I know, he's like out the car in the garage and they're like, oh yeah, he's out of the race now. And I'm like, wait, literally, it felt like seconds.
Yeah, I heard him go, this car is broken. And they were like, yeah, it is. And then a few seconds later, they're like, retire the car. And I was like, oh, that was very fast. Now, granted, all those radio messages
are delayed.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, but you know. So the biggest things that I thought was interesting, or the thing that stuck out to me, was the fact that, the Ferrari pace was just gone. But, we already talked about it. And the McLaren strategy, once again, they're just... those two, the only two they're battling are each other. Yeah. Even, when they asked Oscar a question about Charles, he was just all about Lando.
He was like, I don't care about Charles.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not even...
I want to beat Lando.
Literally in my rear view, don't care. Yeah. And I was like, oh.
Because at that point, I don't know if Oscar was even... he wasn't concerned about winning the race. He was concerned about finishing in front of Lando to preserve his championship lead. Yeah. And to extend it. That's what he cared about. Yeah. And I'm like, yes, sir. That's the championship mentality. So we talked a little bit earlier about how most of the teams were kind of waiting the first 15 to 20 laps to see what the tires were going to do before they kind of committed to a strategy.
Yeah.
Or were trying to had more of an idea of what strategy they were going to go with. And I think it was on lap, and I made a note because I took some notes.
Yeah.
It was on lap 9 that Oscar's engineer asked him if he thought a one-stop was possible because some of the competitors were talking about doing a one-stop. And Oscar was like, bro, I don't know. It's too early. I can't tell you. And I'm like, bro, it's been 9 laps. Chill out.
Yeah, I remember that. He's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I understand. Again, I understand that the driver feedback does play a role in determining the strategy for the teams, but sometimes I think they are overly reliant on drivers making a call. Not saying that necessarily happened this time because there was you could do a 1 or a 2 and either could work to win it. So not necessarily saying that happened this time, but I have noticed, to me it seems anyway, that sometimes they're overly reliant on drivers making a call. When it's like, you need to tell them what they're going to do.
I mean, I think that's just yes and no, because I'm like, I feel like, I feel like Max and Lewis know what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And if they get what they want and the way that happens, like they make better calls than maybe the team can in the moment. But I think that's just so much experience. But I think too, I mean, they probably asked because they're like, hey, are we just like being fed information? So we're trying, are people trying to get in our head? How do you actually think the tire, can you even tell?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're bringing this up already. So like, is there even merit to it? And he's like, bro, I don't even know.
Yeah. I mean, it was interesting to see McLaren, both sides of the garage, just doing their own thing.
Very separate.
And trying to decide what they were going to do to under or overcut each other. And how they were going to max, like they were just running their own races at that point.
Yeah, I mean, that's what was interesting because they were very much like, they weren't treating each other like, oh yeah, we're fighting. Like you said, we're not, like we're racing ourselves, but I'm treating you like I would treat any other person. And so that was very interesting, except when they did kind of start to battle. And then they were like, hey, remember, y'all can go racing, but don't hit each other.
Pretty much. They're like, remember how we go racing. And it's like,
they're like, it's either clean or it ain't happening.
Yeah. Because Oscar was gaining on Lando. And then there was one moment where Oscar was thinking about making the move, but he had a lock up in the corner. Mm-hmm. And then they were like, chill out, bruh.
He was getting a little desperate.
Yeah. He was doing a little much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's so hard to overtake on that track that they asked Oscar about that. They're like, do you think give any more laps? Like, do you think you would eventually caught him? Or they were asking like, how much do you think that lockup affected your ability to then try to keep making a move or attacking or whatever? Mm-hmm. And he was like, I don't think the lockup really affected it. He's like, it's one thing to catch up to somebody, which Oscar did very quickly. He closed the gap super fast.
Yeah.
It went from like 10 seconds to less than 1 very quickly.
Yeah.
He said it's one thing to catch up to somebody, but then to make the move and pass them, it's a completely different thing. And he's like, I don't even know if given more laps, if I could have done it. It's just so hard to pass on that track.
See, maybe that should be a track that's just like
rotated.
And Spa should be there all the time, every year, forever.
I want wide tracks that are good for overtaking. That's what I want.
Yeah. It's just some highlight stuff. I mean, we already talked about Aston Martin kind of killed it. Somebody who definitely stood out to me for a while was Gabriel Bortoleto. He defended against Max, and he was also behind Alonso. And just seeing those three in that like little DRS train they had going for a little bit, and seeing like Gabriel be like, I know that you're Max Verstappen, and I'm not moving.
He's like, but I'm Gabriel Bortoleto, bitch.
Yep. And so that was really entertaining and fun. And also, like, they're all pretty close with each other. Mm-hmm. So that was, like, really funny, too. So, no, I mean, Gabriel, he was showing why he was put in Formula One. Yeah. So that I enjoyed that.
He was getting elbows out a little bit. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, Max was making moves. He was trying his hardest to make something happen. He made several overtakes. And part of that was they're pitting. When they chose to pit, they put him out into traffic. And so he was like, what is this?
He goes, why am I out in all the traffic?
Yeah, he's like, that was not a good decision. He's like, what are we doing?
No, and then at one point, he overtook Lewis, but it was a weird place to overtake, and he had it looked like from that particular angle that he basically ran Lewis off the track, and I immediately knew where my loyalties lied the second I thought it happened, and I was like, I am a Lewis Hamilton girly. I was like, Max, what the heck?
It was
from that angle during the race, it looked like that's just what happened.
It was a very fast corner, if you even want to call it a full corner. Like, it was they were going very fast at that point on the track.
Yeah.
And he just sent it and was like committed to his line and was going on the inside. And
he wasn't like beside him. He wasn't ahead of him. And I was like, what? But then I guess later on they determined it was fine. But they were investigating it after the race. Mm-hmm. And apparently Lewis didn't even go. He like forfeited his right to go because I guess he either just didn't care at that point. At that point, he's like, it's not going to make a difference. So what do I care?
His race, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Which I kind of like thought, I assumed, I mean, there could have been radio messages I didn't hear because I didn't actually have his radio pulled up listening. I mean, they didn't, if he would have said something, they would have played it for the drama of it. And they didn't. So, I mean, I feel like Lewis was just more focused on just trying to get himself in the points. I mean,
so James Hinchcliffe was one of our F1 TV commentators, presenters.
He was bad.
Yeah, he did one other race earlier this season, but he's been busy doing IndyCar, and I guess he had a break from that, and so he came and joined us at F1. And it was he made an interesting point that I kind of agree with in the post race show, where he was like, you didn't ask for my opinion, but I'm gonna give it to you anyway. He's like, I think that when we're giving out penalties for things that drivers do during a race that could potentially affect safety when it comes to driver safety and other people on track. He's like, I think you have to make the penalties worth something.
I agree.
And the particular thing they were talking about was they gave a 5-second penalty to somebody. I forget who it was.
And didn't Gasly get a penalty?
I don't remember.
Collision with Sainz?
Maybe. I don't remember. But, and they may have been talking about the Lewis Max thing, but I feel like they were talking about specifically a penalty that had already been given. It was a 5-second penalty. Oh, it was Charles. That's what it was.
Oh, was it George Russell?
Yeah. So Charles and George Russell had a moment where Charles was losing speed and George was on, basically George
had the pace and Charles just didn't want to give it up.
Yeah, and Charles was kind of desperate at that point, and he made a late lunge, and George was moving under braking, and it was the whole thing, and so he got a 5-second penalty for driving erratically. And so James Hinchcliffe made the comment about, when it comes to driver safety, the reason you can't move under braking like that is a safety thing. And so if you're just going to give someone a 5-second penalty, he's like, the next car back from Leclerc was, I think, outside of that 5-second range. I think it was 12 seconds behind him. So he's like, you give him a 5-second penalty, it doesn't affect anything. So he's like, when it comes to certain things, it can't just be a time penalty. It needs to be, he's like, I think it should be a grid place penalty or something more that actually,
that's the big argument.
Means something and affects the result, because then you're really going to discourage people from doing things that aren't safe.
Well, that was always the big, especially with how the rules are written currently and how Max interprets them and uses them, which, it's worked, has kind of been a 5-second penalty for going, or I think it's normally a 10-second, even a 10-second penalty in this, it's not good enough for going off track and gaining an advantage or running a driver off track. At this point in time, those seconds may have mattered a lot more in previous seasons, but how it is now, it needs to be bigger than that, because it's not mattering. Especially when Max was killing it, and he could have a 5, 10 second, 20 second penalty at times, and it wasn't going to affect anything
because he could outdrive the penalty.
Yeah, so it's if you need to make it to where it's almost impossible to outdrive it.
Or it needs to be you get a penalty that affects the next race. So you get a grid place penalty after qualifying or whatever.
Yeah.
I agree. There's certain things that are just egregious, that it's you cannot do that because people's lives are at stake.
I agree. Yeah. I think he's right.
So speaking of people getting injured, Isaac Hadjar.
Oh my God.
Yeah, his poor little hand.
Yeah.
There was a moment in the opening laps where some gravel was sprayed, and he got some gravel spray to his left hand, and he was like, ow.
Yeah, he's like,
and there were certain points where his hand wasn't even on his steering wheel, because I assume he was just in too much pain.
Yeah, it hurt. Yeah.
And then the only other thing I had on my list was that Hülkenberg got a penalty for moving in his grid box before the start.
Yeah, and then they were talking about how it could have been a slip of the clutch or something, because it was because when you look at the video, I'm it doesn't look like he
was
obviously
accelerating or anything. Yeah.
So
basically, there's a certain point where you can still do things as the lights are coming up. So they were when there's only, there's 5 lights that appear beep, 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 beep. And then when they go out, that's when they can go. That's when the race officially starts. So they were there's certain things you can still do up until 3 of those beep, beep, beeps. But then you get to the 4th red light that comes up, you cannot move at all. Once that 4th light is up, your car cannot even roll in the grid box.
Yeah.
And so basically they looked at the onboard footage, and they said you can see there's a spot on the tire. You can see where the tire barely millimeters rotates a little bit in his grid box, and they said that could be because of the incline or whatever of that portion of the track. they were like, it could have been because of that the car moved a very little tiny bit, but it is what it is.
I'm like, who even, like, there has to be some automated thing where I'm like, who even noticed that?
Oh, well, I know they do have sensors on the car that can tell
So I wonder
things.
if there was, so I'm like, it had to be something like that where it was like a very technical thing. Because, I mean, it wasn't obvious that he did anything.
Or they have competitors that are watching their onboards.
But we would have heard. Oh, yeah. But
that are complaining. Or
that's true. Yeah, they could have complained. I was like, leave Nico alone. At that point, he got the penalty and he was like in last place. And I was like, leave him alone.
And when they told Nico that he got a penalty for moving before the start over the radio, he was like, What are you talking about? He's like, from my end, I did not move. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And then, I guess he just
pretty
fractionally rolled forward a little bit.
Yeah, I was like, what the heck, dude? Okay, that just leaves the rookie report. So Kimi Antonelli, he qualified 15th. He finished 10th, so 1 point.
Woo!
Kimi Antonelli scored a point in Hungary with a strong drive from 15th to 10th, making it a double points finish for Mercedes. At a track known for limited overtaking, he managed to work his way forward and pulled off a 48-lap stint on hard tires to hold position late in the race. The performance marked a return to form after recent struggles, helped by setup changes that restored his confidence in the car. Isaac Hadjar qualified 10th, finished 11th, so no points. Isaac Hadjar narrowly missed out on points in Hungary after a tough start dropped him out of the top 10. He was caught in the midfield on lap 1 and took a hit to the hand from gravel. Running a one-stop strategy, he showed strong pace and stayed in the fight for P10, but blue flags in the final laps disrupted his charge. It was a frustrating result, but the pace was there throughout the weekend. Franco Colapinto qualified 14th, finished 18th, so no points. Colapinto had a tough race as Alpine struggled for pace and strategy. After a solid launch, he lost ground on the opening lap and was switched to a two-stop strategy with an early pit stop. Both of his stops had delays, and the second one dropped him further down the order. Rear grip issues and time lost to the blue flags added a frustrating afternoon, leaving Alpine at the bottom of the standings with no points. Ollie Behrman, he qualified 11th. He didn't finish the race because of a DNF, so no points.
Aww.
Ollie's race in Hungary came to an early end after he picked up floor damage that forced him to retire. He had started solidly in the midfield and ran as high as P10 during the opening stint, but struggled with oversteer throughout. As the race went on, the handling worsened and a noticeable drop in performance signaled the damage that eventually ended his day. It was a disappointing outcome after a promising qualifying and first lap. Womp womp.
Hey, that's my line.
I know. I'm
womp
sorry.
womp.
Oh, my bad. Gabriel Bortoleto, he qualified 7th. He finished 6th, so 8 points.
Ayo.
So we said that he needed to start prodigying, and he has delivered. So Bortoleto secured his best finish of the season in Hungary with a strong drive that saw him finish between the two Aston Martins. He got a clean start, jumped ahead of Stroll, and held off Verstappen in the early stages with some impressive defending. That early effort allowed him to commit to a one-stop strategy, which paid off as he managed his pace well to the end. It was a solid result for both Bortoleto and Kick Sauber as they continue to close in on Aston Martin in the standings. Liam Lawson, he qualified 9th. He finished 8th, so 4 points.
Yay!
Liam Lawson developed another strong performance in Hungary, finishing ahead of a two-stopping Verstappen after executing a well-timed one-stop strategy. He made a clean getaway and stayed within the points early on, despite briefly coming under pressure from Verstappen. The team's call to one-stop proved crucial, allowing Liam to maintain track position and bring home a solid result. It capped off a consistent run on form heading into the summer break. And finally, our favorite rookie, Fernando Alonso. He qualified 5th. He finished 5th.
Yay!
So, this bitch.
I got excited. I'm sorry.
So 10 points.
Yay!
Alonso had a clean and controlled race, finishing 5th after starting from the same position. He made a strong start, getting ahead of Norris, but didn't fight too hard when the McLaren came back through a few laps later. With limited tire options, Aston Martin committed to a one-stop strategy, which worked smoothly as Alonso managed his pace and track position well. It was a solid, trouble-free drive that delivered valuable points and marked a clear step forward in performance for the team. So, there goes a rookie report. So, I mean, you can see who's like kind of the consistent ones. You see the more sporadic ones. I'm just glad Alonso's getting points, to be honest.
Yeah.
Now, moving on to our best and worst segment. I don't have a driver of the day. I have like a team of the day because nobody by themselves impressed me that much.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going this with Aston Martin.
Okay.
I think they did really well considering last Spa was just not it for them. And it was kind of like, looked like a setback. So to see them have a really good weekend is comforting. Hopefully this will continue the rest of the season. I mean, him and Lance Stroll really just did a good job. So, yeah.
My driver of the day is Lando Norris. He, in the opening lap, was down, lost position and was down to P5. And somehow, some way, by the grace of the McLaren gods, he ended up winning the race. They made a solid strategy call, and it ended up being the right one.
Mm-hmm.
And then, he was able to hold off Oscar, which Oscar was not taking it easy on him at all.
No.
And so, he just was able to, wrap it up with a bow.
Yeah, he did a good job. My biggest letdown, I don't think it's a surprise to anybody. It's just Ferrari in general. It's truthfully so painful.
It hurts.
It's frustrating when you see two drivers who are clearly super talented and they're not given a car that showcases that talent. Like, I would say, in my opinion, Lewis is the GOAT. He's the best driver on the grid and he's not able to show people that. Charles, I think, is one of the best drivers on the grid. And I think, we have these moments with him where we see that that's the case. And then we just see Ferrari just somehow take it away.
Yeah.
It's just,
Ferrari,
it's clearly not a driver issue what they have. It's a team issue. It's the car, whatever it is. And so, I don't know. Once you hire Lewis Hamilton and you are still having these same problems that you've pretty much had before, like Carlos Sainz did great, but Carlos Sainz also had issues at Ferrari. So we can stop with the whole narrative online of, are y'all really happy with this? Like, listen, this team is known to just have issues. It had issues with Vettel. It had issues when Alonso was on. It has had issues that have well before Carlos Sainz was ever a part of that team. So it's just like, now you've hired the most successful driver, like decorated driver anyway, factual best driver in the world, or like in Formula One history, and you're still having these issues. So clearly it's you.
Yeah, it's when you have so many problems in so many areas so consistently, it's just you can't expect to win a world championship when every single time the drivers are putting you in a position to win it and to win races and to achieve success. Every time the drivers are putting you in that position, somehow, some way, either the car messes up, the strategy is wrong, something happens with a pit stop. Like, there's too many things going wrong in too many different areas that a driver can't do it on their own.
No.
They can't. Like,
No.
the team needs to figure it out. And like Ferrari fans, we are known to go through the cycle of, it's over. It's so over. We're never going to win again. And then something happens, like Charles getting a surprise pole. And then we're like, we're back. We're so back, baby. We're in it. Championship back on. Let's go. Ferrari, Forza Ferrari. And then now this happens in the race and we're like, it's over. It's so over.
It's over.
So it's a vicious cycle. It's like the highs are truly high because the lows are so low.
Yeah, see, I don't like it. I wanted to go back to Mercedes.
Let me tell you, I was so excited and happy on Saturday when he got the surprise pole that I was so excited I was moved to tearing up. Not full on crying, just tearing up. I was so happy.
I was happy for him. I was cheesing. I was like,
and then
Charles.
and then this happened in the race. And so my biggest letdown was Charles Leclerc's. Yeah. And he's my boy. Charles is my guy. And it was just such a huge letdown after the high of getting the surprise pole. So
yeah, I'm but I'm going to stay positive because I do feel I'm like, I know Lewis is clearly not happy, but he has a champion mindset and he just needs some R&R to get back into that. And if anybody who is currently on the grid right now who has enough grit and determination to whip this team into shape, I think it's Lewis Hamilton. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's where I'm at with it. All right, well, our next race, we have 3 weeks off, so summer break time. But when we return, we will be at Zandvoort, the Heineken Dutch GP. So this will be Max's home race.
And that's in the Netherlands.
Yes. Okay. So last year's main race podium was Lando Norris, Max Verstappen, and Charles Leclerc. So here are some track stats. The first GP was held in 1952. It is 72 laps long. The circuit length is 4.259 kilometers, which is about 2.6 miles. The race distance is 306.587 kilometers, which is about 190.5 miles. The race lap record is held by Lewis Hamilton. That was set in 2021, and that was 1 minute and 11.09 seconds. And it has 2 DRS zones. So something about Zandvoort, it's wild. It's fast. It's super twisty. It's built right into the sand dunes, so the whole track feels like a roller coaster. The corners flow one into the next, and there's a ton of elevation change. They've modernized it a bit, like adding some serious banking to turn 1, but it still has that old school, no room for error vibe. So it's a driver's track. Drivers like this track, and it's always a fun one for us to watch. Now, the biggest question is always, can we overtake here? Yes, but it can be challenging due to the fact that it is a narrow track with high-speed corners. Tarzan Corner, a hairpin at the end of the start-finish straight, is known for overtaking. There are some other areas on the track that, because you can be a little creative with your lines on it, we could see some overtaking there. So you can overtake here, but it's going to be creative and full of skill. So I think it'll be fun. And with this, the girls will also be racing again. So F1 Academy will return as well because they've been on break a while. Mm-hmm. So we'll start that championship back up. But yeah, so we have 3 weeks.
Yeah, we'll still be putting out episodes on F1 related things and topics during that break. Yeah. So we'll still be posting. We're not going anywhere.
We're not going anywhere. So
we're for once not taking a summer hiatus.
Yeah, we've done really well. If whoever's watching now they probably weren't following us before, but we had the tendency to just go on like breaks.
Yeah, on summer hiatuses especially.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to be putting out some F1 stuff in the next couple weeks. Topical, obviously not race reviews because there's not another race for quite a while. But yeah, so be on the lookout for those. And I think that's it.
That's it. All right, we will talk. And we'll see you. But race review wise, we'll see you in 3 weeks. All right, bye. Why did I do this? Bye. 3 weeks. Oh, ew. Hold on. Okay. So we will talk at you in 3 weeks. Bye.